Well, my Apple II is now complete. It took me a while to get everything together, but, well, I finally did it. So we've got the Apple IIc, the correct 2C monitor, which I bought together, the Apple IIc floppy drive, which is a special drive designed with the exact same design concept as the Apple IIc, following with the Snow White design and featuring the same style eject button as the internal drive that the 2C features. And my most recent addition, an Apple ImageWriter 2. This is actually the second version of the ImageWriter 2. The ImageWriter 2 originated in 1985 and did not have ImageWriter printed on the front cover. The second version features ImageWriter 2 silk-screened next to the Apple logo. The third version has a radically different power supply design and a few other design changes. So the story is, this particular printer I purchased from a seller in Norton, Massachusetts. I found it on Craigslist for $100, and I made the gentleman an offer of $40, and he took it. So that's how I bought it, and I had to drive a total of 4 hours to get the printer. I bought it last week, and after I got the printer here, I started ordering everything I needed to make it work, which included a couple of ribbons. I got 2 black ribbons and the color ribbon, which is already installed. I also ordered the correct cable to link this printer to the Apple IIc. The ImageWriter is designed to work with both the Macintosh line and the Apple family as well. So it actually has this style connector on the back. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pin Apple serial connection. The Apple IIc uses a 5-pin DIN serial connection. It was the only Apple product, to my knowledge, to use the 5-pin serial cables. And I'll show you what they look like. The Apple IIgs actually used standard Macintosh-style serial cables like you see on the back of this printer. And it also featured an ADB port for the keyboard and mouse. All this printer really needed was a good cleaning. And I actually brought it over to my parents' house, and using the air compressor, I cleaned all the dust out of the carriage area and from out back where the tractor feed mechanism is. So this printer is actually pretty clean. When I got it, it was just, your average dusty, dirty ImageWriter. Yeah, it still has a little bit of dust there, but that's nothing. The print head I yanked out and looked pretty good, so I didn't bother cleaning it. The ribbon, on the other hand, was sight for sore eyes. It was in really bad shape. I was told by the seller that the printer had been sitting for approximately 15 years and hadn't been turned on or tested, but this is what the color ribbon looks like, by the way. This is what they look like when they're new. Once they're used a few times, they start to get color mixing, because it's one of the inherent flaws with a dot matrix color printer. It has one head for 4 colors, and the head physically strikes each and every color band on the ribbon. So a little bit of ink winds up on the pin heads, which I'll show you what those look like. This is what the print head looks like, and these are 9 little pin heads, or pins. This is what they call a 9-pin impact printer, because it features 9 pins. And 24-pin printers are designed for near letter quality or letter quality printing. This is actually below letter quality printing. Letter quality being the type of print that you would expect from a typewriter. With a near letter quality or NLQ printer like this, you actually can still see the pin impacts on the printed document. I'll show you. I have a document here that I printed earlier. Is it over here? Apparently I already threw it out. Anyway, you can actually clearly, and I'll demonstrate it in AppleWorks so you can see what I'm talking about. And if you stay with me throughout this entire video, I'm going to show you some actual schoolwork that I printed on an ImageWriter when I was in either first grade or, no, I think it was actually first grade. So you'll get to see that, and you'll get to see the kind of quality work that I was producing back then, back in first and second grade. So stay tuned. For my first trick, I'm going to show you how this printer prints color and what to expect. But first, we're going to just go ahead and quickly clean this print head. I feel better. I would feel better if I cleaned it real quick. So I'm going to show you how to do it. Okay, so what we have here is a clean cotton cloth. Actually, that's kind of, well, that's stained, so we'll use it. Clean cotton cloth, and we're going to take some alcohol, and she dabbed it in alcohol, just regular 90%. And we're going to just gently kind of swab the surface of the print head, and you'll see it turns the cloth completely black because it is basically caked up with about 25 years worth of ink. Actually, this printer is about 26 or 27 years old. When C. Ito manufactured these printers, they didn't think they'd be around for 30 or 40 years after production, but the reality is they're capable of lasting that long with very little maintenance, if no maintenance at all. They're one of the best printers ever manufactured, in my opinion. Their print quality sucks, but their longevity is second to none. And because there are so many ImageWriters produced, or there were so many produced, that finding a ribbon for one is not hard at all. In fact, many printer, ink, and toner suppliers will still sell you brand new ribbons. I can assure you that they're mostly new old stock, but they're still good, because printer ribbons have a very long shelf life. Years or decades, in fact. As long as they're sealed in plastic, they won't really dry out. And if they do dry out, they can be re-inked fairly easily. So, we've cleaned off many, many decades of dried ink from that print head, and I cleaned the contacts while I was there. As I mentioned earlier, this printer was manufactured by a Japanese company that makes bicycles and printers. Typical of many Japanese companies, they have very diverse portfolios. But C. Ito was the manufacturer that was contracted for this printer, and they manufactured its predecessor, the ImageWriter. I'm not sure if they made the ImageWriter 2LQ, or the ImageWriter LQ, sorry, which is a 24-pin model that failed miserably. Actually, I had to look into that. I don't know who made that printer, but it was a very, very unsuccessful product for a variety of reasons. I believe reliability was one of them. It wasn't reliable. And I know that it had other issues too, like it would jam up. And how can you screw up a 24-pin printer, for God's sakes? Epson's been making them for years without problems. There we go, got that locked in there. So what makes this printer color, or how does it print color? It's actually quite simple. The cartridge holder is mounted on a pivot, and it has 4 positions that it can be placed in, or that it can be adjusted to. This device here is actually attached to this little stepper motor down here that drives a looks like kind of like a spiral staircase. And it's that spiral staircase that this cartridge, we'll call it a cartridge deck or floor, rides on. And as this rotates, it raises into one of 4 preset positions. The printer can identify this as a color cartridge because there's a switch here, a little micro switch, that lines up with this pin on the color cartridge. When the cartridge is placed in, it trips that little switch, and it tells the printer that there is a color cartridge ready to go. Black cartridges do not have that pin, therefore they do not depress that switch. So if you have an ImageWriter that doesn't print in color, even though there's a color cartridge loaded, make sure that that pin isn't broken off, and you may have a bad micro switch. Because most of these printers were run with black cartridges in them, because color printing was really not well utilized, especially if they were used for schoolwork, or not schoolwork, but if they were used in the home, or actually mainly in businesses, they wouldn't have been used for color printing anyway. And the color ribbons had a very short lifespan because of their color mixing issues. One more thing I want to go over. The door itself has a little magnetic switch that link. See this magnet right here? That magnet triggers a switch. It's located right behind here. There's actually a little glass tube. You can see that right there. There's a little glass tube that contains a magnetic switch, just like magnetic door switches. Same concept. And what that does, like household doors for security systems, what that actually does is it tells the printer whether or not the door or the cover is installed. Because these printers were designed to be safe, they will not operate with the door removed. But here's another little tidbit of information. The newer version of this printer, I think 1990 plus, 1990 to 96, used a lower cost mechanical switch. So if you have the magnetic switch, or the magnet mounted to the top cover, you have a pre-1990 printer. And I wanted to mention this too. I have the original box to this printer, and it has the date of production on it. There it is, 11 of August 89, and this is the original box to that printer. It was originally shipped to Brandeis University, the Epstein Building in Waltham, Massachusetts. So this was actually sent to a college where it was probably purchased by the original owner through the college's, I don't know, I think they have like stores where they sell books and other materials, and I bet you that's where it came from. So, getting back to our printer, I'm going to also show you how to do a color print test. If you have a color ribbon installed, you can run this quick test to determine the functionality of the print head and the cartridge position mechanism. So what we're going to do is hold down the form feed button. We're going to actually load paper first. So let's do that. Turn the printer on. That noise you just heard was the cartridge moving down and up. So what we're going to do is press form feed first, and that's going to get the printer queued up to where it needs to be. We're going to shut the printer back off again. Then we're going to hold down form feed, press the power switch. Now release form feed. And what it's doing is it's printing in every color it's capable of printing in. So we have yellow, red, blue, orange, green, purple, black, yellow, red, blue, orange, and we're back again. So, and that is how you test the printer's ability to print both, well, anything, but especially color. And you can see that this is a brand new ribbon, so there's very little color mixing. These colors are crisp, they're sharp, and they're nice and bold. That won't last. So that is the last time you will probably see this cartridge get used. I'm now going to load a standard black cartridge in, which is what I'm going to make, or what I'm going to do most of my printing from anyway, because I want to save this color ribbon because they don't really, they're actually getting kind of hard to find, I'll be honest with you. The color ribbons are getting a little difficult to find. They are available, but they're getting rare. So we're going to take that out, and we're going to load in one of our black cartridges. And then we're going to go through some quick projects, which is kind of why I bought this to begin with. I want to do all of my greeting card printing from the Apple II. Now, I have a PC that does that, but I think it's a lot more fun to use the oldest possible piece of equipment I have to print all of my greeting cards. Because I'm just that kind of guy. Alright, I gotta get this in right here. There we go. We're going to tighten the cartridge ribbon up a little bit by giving it a few turns. And we're going to eject the paper by hand so that we can manually or automatically load it to where it needs to be. We want it queued up exactly where the printer wants it to be. So we're going to put the cover back on. And power on. And form feed. Okay, good. Now we can power up the Apple IIc, and we're going to print some cool stuff. I wanted to print some color graphics for you guys, but I really don't have any software that was designed to take advantage of that capability. I do have AppleWorks 2.0. I don't know why I don't have 3.0, but I do have 2.0, but it doesn't really seem to take advantage of the color printing. I don't have any paint programs for this, but I'm going to start looking very soon. I do have a mouse for this machine, an actual Apple IIc mouse, and I intend to use it at some point. But let's take one more look at that printout before we move on. And you can see the rainbow of colors that you can print with this dot matrix printer, and it isn't that bad. But you can clearly see that the text is very, well, dot matrixy. You can see every print element and every character. And that is the kind of problem that the printer manufacturers are trying to solve, not only with the 24-pin or 24-wire, as they're sometimes referred to as, ImageWriters, or, I'm sorry, printheads. And that is what Apple was trying to solve with the ImageWriter LQ. So, one more thing. You can adjust the print quality right from the control panel here. So right now we have it set to draft mode, and this is medium, and then this is what's often referred to as NLQ, or near letter quality, and that's referring to this darker bar in the bottom. So we'll just leave it in draft mode. And select does what the online button does on a PC printer. Okay. Now I have this set up for 2 drives, so we're going to start Print Shop. Okay. We're going to start the Print Shop from the internal drive, and we're going to put our holiday graphics disk in the external drive. Now I downloaded all of my software online, and I transferred it to the Apple II over a serial cable using a program called ADT Pro. And I have a video tutorial on how to do this. It's easy as hell. Even I can do it. But I use an old Windows laptop. Right there, it's a Sony Vaio. To download and transfer all my Apple II software rather than pay through the nose on eBay. The only thing I've had to acquire a lot of are new old stock floppy diskettes. And as I've just learned, there's a company that still manufactures 5¼ inch 360 kilobyte diskettes. Yes, folks, they're still around. They make them, ironically, they're in business to provide them for the U.S. government, who still uses mainframe computers and other old odd bits and bytes. That's what I meant to say. So we're going to print a greeting card. Now I have my paper queued up. I have my printer selected. I have the software set up for 2 diskettes. Now let's go over that real quick. Here we go. I'm going to do that real quick. We have to make sure that the software is configured for our system. So I'm going to go into the setup menu, and I have it selected as Apple DMP, ImageWriter, or Scribe. I don't know what those others are, but I do know that that says ImageWriter, and so does that. So, now CITO ProWriter may be the same driver. May not be. But CITO is in fact the manufacturer of this printer. I did set it up for 2 diskette drives, but we don't need to go over that again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load the greeting card creation wizard. I'm going to try a different graphics diskette this time. Let's try graphics volume 2. I don't think I've tried that one yet. Now you're going to laugh when you see how you're supposed to select graphics, because the software was designed with low memory usage and low diskette size in mind. So it is actually the most stripped down print shop program I've ever seen. So we have a choice of borders, and it shows you a sample around the menu here. So thin, double, thick, beads, lattice, floral, stars, hearts, wicker, or no border. We're going to do the wicker border. Now choose graphic by picture. Let's see if this actually... Oh, this one does show me a sample. So I got the birthday cake, heart, bells. Now these are the graphics that are on the program disk. Menorah, Christmas tree. See more choices. Rose, Cupid, apple. And it's actually, it looks to be a rainbow apple. And I bet if I had an external, or I'm sorry, a color monitor, I'd be able to see that. Now let's go for something on a different diskette. Let's turn the light off. There's a little bit of glare there. Oh, it's the one behind me. So, from other disk. If I had the print shop book and manual, and the box and all that happy stuff, I would be able to see every graphic file on these diskettes and be able to choose by looking at the graphic image. But that's not how we are set up to do this. Oh shit, looks like that disk is bad. Yeah, that was a fact of life back then. For some reason, this external drive doesn't always read everything I give it. So let's try a different one. I know the holiday one works. Let's try graphic volume 1. I have another disk drive identical to this one, so if I may have to swap it out. But no, it actually read that one. So here's the funny thing. I can't view a sample. That's what I was talking about. If I had the book, I could look at the picture and choose from there, but I have to assume that these are what I want them to be. So I'm going to choose the plain. Now remember that, because I have to type in the file name, plain, and hit return. Like I said, it doesn't show me a sample of the file. I can't view it, but I'm going to do a large plain on the, and I'm going to do, let's see, boy are my arms tired. Because it's a plain, get it? Get it? Get it? Okay. Alright. On the inside, I'm going to do no border. Choose a graphic by picture from other disk. Let's do disk 2. Maybe I just need to remake that disk. Disk, was it 3? That could be it. Let's do Mama. I don't know what Mama is, but we're going to do it. Yo Mama. And I'm going to do a small, let's do a medium graphic. And custom layout, staggered or custom. I'm going to do a custom layout. So it gives me the 5 positions it can be placed in. And all I have to do is press return to place or remove. I want it to be here and here. So I'm going to place one there and place one there. But at no point does it say, would you like to see a sample of what you're actually putting on there? Kind of drives me nuts. And it also doesn't give me the option to change the text size at any point. Yo Mama. There we go. Is I don't know. Okay. Control I to see edit instructions. Alright, let's see what that, maybe that gives us what we need. So I'm going to do Control I. Change size of line or erase line. Control S. Okay. Control S. Oh, we can change the size. But there's only 2 sizes to choose from. Well, that sucks. No. Centering would put it right in the middle. I don't want that. Now, the give yourself credit option, I want to see how much space. Made with an Apple II. There. Okay. But there is no option to view a sample. So we're basically printing it just to see if it even looks good. So here we go. So we're going to see what these graphics look like for the first time. Oh, that one's hella creepy. I said hella. My God. This is slow. Oh yes, and it doesn't support color printing either. So yeah, that blows. Printing again. So that's supposed to be Mama, I think. Yeah, that's what it was. Oh, that looks terrible. I have used the print shop for the Apple IIgs. It's a completely different animal. It supports color printing. It has better graphics. It fits on 3.5-inch diskettes, which means that you can cram more software in a smaller diskette. So it has more code, which means there's more options, which means it's just a better product. But this is what you get when you get the original Apple II version from 1984, which is one of the first versions ever made. So, yeah, there's that. So while we're printing that, I want to show you how nicely paper can fit, fanfold paper can fit under the printer, or partially under the printer. It doesn't go all the way. But there was a special printer stand that Apple had designed for this printer that allows you to put a whole stack of paper right underneath it. So that's kind of nice. There was one available when I was looking for printers on eBay, but I didn't buy it because I didn't have a printer yet. Now I have the printer and I can't get the stand, so I'll have to keep an eye out for one. So here we go. Now this is a brand new ribbon that actually has some defects in it. Look at that. It's just mildly defective. Look at that. Brand new ribbon. It's done. And that's what they look like before you fold them. And now we're going to fold it. It's not really centered that well. I'm going to chalk that up to a just a very poorly written piece of software. But come to think of it, it seems like it never really perfectly lines up. So, I mean, it's just the way it is, I guess. Now we have it folded, we can tear off the little edges. But yes, just so you guys are aware, I use this software all the time on my PC to print out greeting cards for family members and coworkers. And I don't buy cards. This is what I do. Look at that. Perfect. So if I had centered the text to the middle, it would have come out okay. But I didn't. All right. Now it's time to exit. And okay. All right. Let's take a look at AppleWorks. And in my next video, I want to show you this next. I found this game on eBay actually, called Murder Party, and I'm like, ooh, this could be interesting. And it wasn't what I thought it was. We're gonna take a look at that in another video, but I just found it and I thought I'd mention it. So AppleWorks was one of the killer apps, if you will, for the Apple II, and it was one of the most successful word processors Apple has ever created. The AppleWorks brand was continued well into the year 2000. When Apple re-released AppleWorks after ClarisWorks had been shelved. And as a matter of fact, the AppleWorks software, we used it where I work until 2008. That's how long we used it for. I mean, it did the job. It did it quite well. And it was a word processor, spreadsheet, and drawing application. It was a very versatile program. I know this is too close to the printer. Unfortunately, my desk is too freaking small. So we're going to slide this little gem of a computer over a little bit. There we go. Let me give us a little more space. And the joystick is always in the way, of course. So let's slide that in. There we go. So we need to swap diskettes. Unfortunately, the software doesn't recognize my external drive. I don't know why. It lets me save to it, but I can't run the program from it. So it's kind of a minor annoyance. So now it wants the program disk. If I were smart, I would have written the program to the back side of the boot disk, but I'm a dumbass and I didn't think to do that. So here's the program. I've already configured the printer. Here's the here's one interesting tidbit. It lets you put the current date in, but it's not exactly Y2K compliant because it wouldn't let me do 5. And by the way, it saves it to the disk, so the last date used is saved into the diskette. So you only have to update, hopefully, just the day and month and year, or the whole date, if you want to put it that way. But anyway, today is 5/23/15. But if I put in the 1/5, hit return, we're sorry, that's invalid. It only goes up to 1999. So 5/23/00. Sorry. 1999, baby. The date must be from 1983 or later, but it won't go into the year 2000. So that's okay. We have to start off by adding files to the desktop. We're going to create a new file, and we're going to do a word processor. It does database and spreadsheet as well. No. Oh, it's trying to hold on. Get files from, let's see, make new word processor from scratch. Type a name, test. What time is it? Oh, it's 10:30. Okay, so I've got a new word processor document. I'm gonna type something up real quick. Okay, so I've got a quick little document there. It's got plenty of typos. I didn't really check anything. So here we go. Now if I do open Apple open Apple question mark, I can basically see what my options are. I can move text, change name of file, options for print formatting, print, replace occurrences of, set clear tab stops, zoom in or out, spacebar. Open Apple spacebar is sticky space. I don't know what that does, but you can see all that. Now there is no spell check on this. It gives you very few options. But then again, this was a very, very early program. So, and I haven't figured out a way to change the text color. I'm gonna look into that in a minute. Okay, it turns out this software does not natively support. Well, we know it doesn't support mice. I found an add-on for that, but it's kind of kludgy to get it working. But it doesn't support text color, which makes my color printer kind of pointless. So I got to find more software for that. I will be looking. So let's go ahead and print. I believe it's Open Apple P. Print from beginning this page or from the cursor on. We're going to do print from the beginning. And we've got our printer turned on. It's set to, we're going to change it to high quality print. And we're going to see what this baby can do. And then I'm going to show you something really interesting. But this is only for those of you who stay with me through the end of the video, because it's interesting. ImageWriter with color. Well, the color thing is kind of pointless. So we're just going to do the ImageWriter option. Let's see how that goes. One copy. Oh shit. Let's start all over here. We had a bit of a jam. Okay, jam is cleared. We'll back the paper out of the printer. Put our covers back on. Drop that down. Cover back on. And form feed. Okay, print quality is set to high. Select. Oh, it just went back from where it stopped. That is the best it can do. That's it. That's all she wrote. And as you can clearly see, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, this is high quality text. I mean, it is readable. It's legible. But that's really all it had to be. Okay. Now, what you've all been waiting for. Time to feed the frogs. They're jumping around. They're getting kind of antsy, if you will, and think they deserve a little bit of food for their efforts. Ooh, a little too much. Pour some of that back in there. That's a little much. Maybe a little less than that. We're on a diet. Okay. Here they come. Somebody's hungry. Could that somebody be you? That one right there, that's little Rosie the Riveter. Reptar's over there, oblivious. Yeah. Alright, here we go. This is what I wanted to show you guys. And it ties in with our little project here because these books were actually written on an Apple II and printed on an actual ImageWriter. As a matter of fact, the model of the Apple II that I would have used was either a 2C or a 2GS. I don't remember which one because we had both of them in our classrooms. So the first one I wrote was in readiness. Now, for those of you not aware of the American educational system, it's changed a bit over the years, but students who were not quite prepared for first grade would be sent to readiness before they go on to first grade after kindergarten. Now, nowadays, that program is obsolete. I think they either take kindergarten over again or they force them into first grade. But it was a very popular program, and it was usually pretty well stocked with people like me. Now, here's the funny thing. My mom didn't send me to preschool. I went straight into kindergarten. My mom taught me how to read and write when I was like 4. So I actually had some form of penmanship when I entered kindergarten, and then when I entered readiness, by that point I could read and write. My penmanship sucked, but that was one of the reasons why they held me back, because I couldn't, well, my handwriting was terrible, and I couldn't tie my shoes, but I could read at like a 3rd, 4th grade level back then, which was bizarre. I was a weird kid. But anyway, we had this school-wide project, and they did this up until 3rd grade, and every kid got to publish a book every year, once a year. And the books were assembled by volunteers. They were parent volunteers, and they were built from cardboard and wallpaper. So this is actually this is actual wallpaper from the early 90s. This looks like a border for a bedroom. And that's how they would put them together. They would glue them and staple them and all that happy stuff. And they were printed. The first one was printed on an actual typewriter, like that Underwood right there. That's what we had in our classroom. We had an old typewriter. And the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th ones were printed on an ImageWriter. So that's kind of why I wanted to tie this all in together. But here we go. This one was written in April of 1991, when I was 6 years old. In May, I would have been 7. So yeah, I was 6 years old then. I dedicated to great-grandmom. That was my handwriting back then. It hasn't improved much, I assure you. And my artwork, oh my god. So look at this. This is a book called, by the way, The Pencil. And it's about a pencil who apparently rides a bus. And I'll read the book to you. Now, you can see this was not written or typed on any computerized printer. Anyway, so here's the bus. I drew that, and I made emphasis on the antenna. I was obsessed with antennas for some reason, and so here we go. We'll start over. Once upon a time, there was a pencil who was very poor. he left home. He found a market, and I drew that. It looks kind of like a well house on wheels. They went on a city bus. Look at that. Another big, giant freaking antenna. Then he found an exciting thing. He had a lot of pencils to play with. They had lots of fun together. By the way, I didn't type any of this. The parent volunteers did that. We weren't allowed to touch that typewriter. It cost the district too much money in 1955. They lived happily ever after. And there's a pencil with legs and really long lead on his head. So that was me. I was a skinny little blonde kid. Oh, look at that. There we are. I was a beanpole, if you will. I was very short, too. 1990-91 school year. Brandon lives on Boston Post Road in Amherst with his mom and dad. He will have a new baby at his house in June. She now has a kid of her own. To put this into perspective, she has a 1-year-old son. My nephew. Brandon loves to play trucks, build with blocks, and draw diagrams of things. His favorite foods are rice pilaf, macaroni and cheese, pizza, and fries. Brandon has a kitten named Shanae, which had 4 kittens. I annotated things after the fact, which was kind of, and whatever. So there's that one. It's all fallen apart, by the way. The second one, let's see. That would be this one here. Now, this is kind of interesting. I was in a phase of drawing houses and castles and shit like that, and I wrote this next one completely made up, but people took it seriously. They thought I was actually researching and drawing from my research. It couldn't be further from the truth. I remember writing all of these, by the way, like it was yesterday, and what was going through my head at the time, and I was just drawing random buildings, inventing them, actually, in the process. So this one's called Old Chapels and Castles. I wrote this in 1st grade, and you can see this beautiful early 90s ugly-ass wallpaper with this nice little flowered border. I didn't pick this out, I should point out. The parent volunteers did all that for us. But here we go. I like the first... See, oh yes, and at the end of the year, we had like a judging thing where we'd lay out all the books on the giant lunchroom tables, and our classmates would, and teachers and their parents, would rate our work, and look, and our parents would come in too. I think I just said that. This was my 1st grade teacher, Mrs. Niskanen. Dear Brandon, I know how much time you have spent studying different kinds of houses. You know a lot about them. Perhaps you will be a builder of houses someday. I'm like, no, okay. Here we go. May 12th, 1992. Yeah. Grade 1, I was 7 years old still. Volume 6. See, I didn't know what that meant. I thought it had something to do with a dial on a radio or something, and like turn it up to 11, you know. Volume 6. What the hell? Where's 1 through 5? Dedicated to my dad. This was something that my teacher harassed me for a lot. My penmanship was so terrible. I was a left-handed kid being taught by right-handed people. It doesn't work that way. Sorry, guys. I put dots between words to make them separate a little bit, and I got a lot of trouble for that one. Why would I cross that off? It actually says that, dedicated to my dad, and whatever. So, here we go. Castle Tower, page 2. And then Lincoln Castle. Ooh. I should also point out that some of these were vandalized by my sister. He now has a 1-year-old son. Ham House. Looks like a ham. And then we've got Schoolhouse. Okay. And a police station. Now, this particular book was probably typed out on an IBM Selectric. You can see the printing is crisp and clear and uniform. Very typical of a Selectric. This next one, Ghost House, which is completely disintegrated. I believe this one is the last one. Grade 3. So this would be grade 2. The Ghost House. Now this is where I actually try to branch out my writing into more of a novel. Yeah. Okay. Completely falling apart here. Now this one, this is what we were looking for. You can clearly see that this is printed on a 9-pin dot matrix printer. And that 9-pin printer would have been an ImageWriter 2. And a well worn out ribbon at the same time. So now you know where I grew up. But yeah, you can clearly see the print quality. So let's read the novel, The Ghost House. Dedicated to my family this time. I didn't want to leave anybody out. Okay. The old house sits on a high hill. It is 10,000 years old. It is haunted. And there's the house. Look at that. Creepy. Even says God on the roof for some reason. I don't know why. Okay. Me and Pam, who was a friend of mine at the time, went there. We saw a skull on the table. Now this book is kind of absurd. The roof almost caved in on us. The house was abandoned, so we went upstairs. So let's narrate this here. You're walking into an abandoned house, right? The roof almost caves in, so you walk upstairs. Wow. Common sense much? Something happened and Pam disappeared for 1 second. Just a second. No, 1 second. She disappeared. When she came back 1 second ago, we had nothing we could do. We were trapped. And you can clearly see that we are trapped through a trapdoor in the floor. And there's a giant bag of wheat and rocks hanging above us. Now, I knew how to spell rocks. I don't know why I wrote it that way. No, I do know why, because I was a wise ass. And I would do that, I would sometimes misspell words on purpose because I liked the way they looked misspelled. It made me laugh. But it also impacted my grade as well. A 50-pound sack had gotten loose from its string. And by the way, rocks and wheat flour. What the fuck? It was huge and it was dangling above our heads. Then the floor caved in. Oh my God. Why are we in this house? Then the floor caved in and we jumped on a pillar and climbed down to escape. Now there's a giant pillar in a residential home that is collapsing. Come on. It's just the premise is so, I don't know, senseless. That's by the way, that is how I would draw a human back then. And we ran out the door. Okay. About the author. My name is Brandon Bishop. I live in Amherst Gardens in Amherst, New Hampshire. I am 8 years old. My favorite food is Chinese food. I was 8 years old then, huh? Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. And there's that one. I gotta glue this back together. This is the last one I ever did. This was in 3rd grade. The 3 Dummies. Now, this is the first time they actually let us type some of our own work. I was with the teacher. They would have, like, teacher's aides let us actually, use the computer to type some stuff. And I think she let me type some of it. So that was kind of fun. And I do remember that this book was written on a 2GS. That I know for sure because I was actually physically there when it was done. The 3 Dummies by Brandon Bishop. Now this would have been an ImageWriter 2 set to NLQ mode. Look at that. Not draft mode, but NLQ. So it's nice and bold. And it looks like a fresh ribbon too. Ooh. Grade 3. And there's no date. Dedicated to my whole family. Now, this, by the way, is some of the vandalism that my little sister, who would have been probably 2 or 3 at the time, she drew that. Little bitch. The names of the three dummies in this story are Lab, Fat, and Mo. This is obviously a Three Stooges knockoff, by the way. They look, oh yeah, I mentioned that too. They look a little like the Three Stooges. Surgeon General's warning, this story is harmful to your taste. The author is not responsible for any sickness. Okay, now this kind of pissed me off because I was telling her what I wanted it to say. I wanted it to say harmful to your health, but she wouldn't let me. I don't know why. So these are our three little jerks. We got Mo, Lab, and this is Fat, I think. And this is my sister's handiwork here. Kind of looks like something I would have drawn, but no, it's not. Are you okay, Mo? Said Lab. Of course I am, said Mo. But then Mo got sick. Lab repeated, are you sure you're okay? Mo said no. Okay, so he changed his mind. Lab said, let's go to the doctor. And there they are. Mo said, okay, wait a minute. I want my teddy. Now look at this. This is actually white out here. I just thought I'd point that out. Fat said, I'll go look for it. Lab said, no, you can't have your teddy, Mo. You're no baby. And all of a sudden, he magically transformed into a baby. This kind of looks like that guy from The Simpsons, Harry Shearer. It kind of looks like Harry Shearer for some reason. Uh-huh, said Mo. Then Mo got so mad he took off his mask and he was really a baby. Look at that. The tragedy. The sequel. So that was a prequel. This is a sequel. The sequel to The Three Dummies and Lab in a coffin with a question mark. I was a very sick-minded kid. Mo had just turned 52 years old. Fat had turned 72 years old, and Lab died at 99. Okay, years of age. Mo was looking through Lab's book of memories. When he was finished, Fat came through the door to tell him something. I wasn't good at math. So that would not have been 99 years old. Let's see. Born in 1901, died in 19... I want to say that says 88. Okay, good enough. Fat said he had just bought a 127-acre farm in New Mexico. 127 acres. They would both have to move to the farm and sell their house in order to keep the farm and buy animals. Mo said, sure. I'll sell the house. I will just buy a new car. The old Ford just blew its engine. I will buy a new engine tomorrow. But now this is where it doesn't make any sense. See, he's buying a new car and he's simultaneously fixing the old one. Fat said, well, come on, let's get a new car instead of a new engine. But that old Ford has memories, said Mo. And there's the old Ford. Look at that. 1959 it says. Okay. Fat said, you stupid idiot, get a new car. Mo said, no. Fat said, but the frame cracked right in half last night. Okay. So I'll buy a new frame, Mo said. Fat said, let's use my car instead. So much for that Ford, huh? Good idea. Come on, I've sold the house. Okay, let's go. 3 days later. Are we there yet? Mo asked. No, Fat said. We're in Iowa. Mo said, okay. Yeah. Right. 9 days later. It took 9 days, by the way, to get from Iowa to New Mexico. Apparently, I was not a proficient geographer. Are we there yet? Mo asked. Fat said yes. Mo said, yeah. Fat said, here's the farm. And here's your sign. Look at the farmhouse, or barn. Wow, 1,000 acres, all for us? Cool. Animals too? Yes, animals too. Wow, said Mo, and they lived happily ever after. Now, this is something that I, years later, look back on and realize that I pretty much outlined the part of the plot of Mice and Men. Now, I hadn't read the book until about 9th grade, but This whole moving to a farm and you're going to live happily ever after and we're going to live off the fat of the land and all that, and you're an idiot and I'm not, you know, that's like Of Mice and Men, and I hadn't even heard of the story or read the book until years later, and I reflect on that and wonder if perhaps I'm telepathetic. Moving on. About the author. At this point, now I had changed my eating habits apparently, because I went from just eating pizza and rice to my favorite foods are chicken, macaroni and cheese, turkey, steak, hot dogs, ice cream, strawberries, pizza, and most vegetables and fruits. Did I leave anything out? No. I have fun playing with helium balloons because it makes your voice sound funny. I like riding my bike. Sometimes I read books. And yeah, I was a wise ass. Yeah. Alright. Well, there's that. And there's that. So with that, let's press that.